just like myself now, I'm not self-employed, you know. It's because of the hardship in Nigeria now, you know, one have to engage in several things. Like I once work, I once have people that is working for me, but it have not been easy because of the way the situation is now. I can't even pay them. Even I have to, you know, look for another alternative. I'm running POS to tell you how tough things are in this country. You know, you don't need to fold hand. Most places I put protection, they've not been calling. You can't fold hand. Look at now. Can you imagine a half pint of Gary is getting to 2,000 naira? Now, a cup of beans that they beg people to eat. Oh gosh, I don't even want to start, you know.
So what do you think government can do to help us?
They should, first of all, government should provide security. The farmers now, they can't go to farm. There's insecurity everywhere. People are scared. You know, by the time government provides security here in this country, farmers will go back to farm. You see things, you know, prices of things will start dropping. I think they should look into it and do something.
All right, thank you very much. How are you coping and surviving in Nigeria right now?
By the special grace of God, well, we don't depend on the governments. Yeah, we are surviving through our handworks and doing our best to meet up with the economy. Though it's not easy for the poor masses.
When you say doing your best to meet up with the economy, because the economy has changed, so what has changed for you?
Many things changed, most especially the price of commodities in the market, and you know, most especially in this Asaba, I will start from the rentage, the housing stores, everything is on increments now. So we are trying our best to try as much as possible to fit into.
So do you now have more sources of income? What's different? You now eat, maybe you used to eat 3 times before. Now you eat once. What's different so that you can, so you can survive, because man must survive. So what's different?
Yeah, like me, I don't know of others. I still maintain my 3 square meals.
Yeah, you. What are you? Odogu.
I'm a chef. I cook. So the sooner where person they work in the shop. So probably I do my cooking stuff and I must chop.
So you make more money.
Yeah.
So do you have more sources of income now?
No, currently I'm just doing my cooking stuff.
Okay, so what do you think government can do to better the economy, to help us?
We will start from the masses, because most of the things happening now is we the masses, we are the one causing it.
Na man they do man.
Yeah, na man they do man. Because if you go to the markets now, what you bought last week 300 naira, they will tell you 500.
Well, it's not their fault though.
Yeah, when you ask them, they will tell you is Tinubu is Tinubu. Tinubu is not the one causing it. We the masses, we are the one causing most of the problems we have. And for we to solve the economics in this country, we have to deal with ourselves before going to the government. So when we deal with ourselves, we know that the next thing is to deal with the government. Yeah.
So let's start with ourselves first.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great day. How are you coping and thriving in Nigeria right now?
In fact, it's not easy, because if you look at the economy very well, you see that the cost of goods and services are on the increase on a daily basis, and as such, we find it very difficult to maintain our meal. Like those that are taking their meal morning, afternoon, evening, this time because of the present increase or inflation, you see that they are not taking morning, they'll skip afternoon, then take evening. And as such, the children, there is one adage that says, "Anyway, belle face," which means that after taking the morning meal, the rest one is left for the children for that afternoon. Anyway, they find themselves, they will take whatever they can take. Then in the evening, before they go to bed, they will take the meal at home. And as such, this is affecting their careers, because some of these children who are not mature enough to go into a relationship, you see that because of the present circumstance of the society, they are going into a relationship They are even taking in unwanted pregnancy, and so many devices, so many vices are coming up every day. And indeed, this is yes, as a means of survival, and this is indeed affecting the society, their career, and even their future.
So what do you think the government can do to better this situation?
Like when this issue of cost increase came up, the government went into increase of salary. And this increase of salary, if you look into it critically, it is not the way forward in this country. What we want in this country, if I may suggest, and if the government will hear me, number one is to reduce the cost of price, the cost of fuel. If the cost of fuel is reduced, it means that every section of the economy will fall down in terms of price, because whatever you buy as a businessman or businesswoman, you must move them from one end to another. In the course of that, you are paying for transportation, and when the transport is high, the cost of goods will be high.
So it's fuel.
Yes, the fuel, that's number one. Then number two is the opening of border. If our border mark is open, believe me honestly, everything, when there is inflow of goods and services, it makes the people have option on the goods to go for. That does not mean that they will stop patronizing our local goods. No, they can also patronize Nigeria brand, then patronize foreign brand. But in that case, the competition will be high, and people will see means of living again, and they will see the hope of living again. And in that case, Nigeria will be better again. And also again, we are looking at how Nigeria can grow from consumption to production. If Nigeria can grow from consumption to production by investing in agriculture, giving more attention to agriculture, that will help us to have more of productivity in the society, and with that, agricultural products will be spread across the different catchment areas which we have, and that will help us to maintain a standard of production, and that will help us again to reduce starvation, and even the issue of high increase in cost of goods and services will be reduced, and people will see the hope of living again.
All right, thank you very much, sir. For this Nigeria way with this way, everything don't change. Food don't cost, everything don't change. So how you say they survive?
We don't say everything don't change for this Nigeria. We just survive from God, because trouble no good everywhere. Trouble you enter there because of goodness, and so you enter there, carry everything up finish. See rice, see egg, see everything, see fuel. When they carry fuel down, carry everything down, so that everything will come down. You get some people who are poor, where they for this Nigeria, they don't see food shop for this Nigeria. We know now they go for this Nigeria. They say Nigeria go good, but then they kill us for this Nigeria. So old women where they village, they no fish shop. Some old women where they for they no fish shop, they no fish do anything. It's Trouble is a bad person, number one, and Yoruba people is no good. Then damage all the Igbo people for Nigeria. Damage for Lagos, say Nigeria go good, but Nigeria no good. Make them keep us good well and put Nigeria very good.
So if Tinubu just reduce the price of fuel, reduce the price of food, everywhere, Nigeria go better.
If we then increase the price of fuel and everything, Nigeria go better, because now because of the fuel everything go up. Without the fuel everything no go up. So you understand? If you want to go buy gasoline and they go say they enter fuel, then pay transport. If you want to enter transport, go Lagos now, then they cost too much of price, 40,000, 30,000. It's no good. When Nigeria good, it's okay like that. When they carry everything down.
All right, thank you. So for this Nigeria way with this way, I say they survive. I say they, say every day food just they go up, food everything just they go up. So I say they survive.
The way I say they survive, say man, no go they on one something. Even if say they collect salary, go still they do another thing, because now that salary go pay house rent, buy clothes, send give mama, send give papa. So it no easy, sha.
How many things you gonna do now?
I dey do many things. Anywhere. So far say na legit work, I dey run now.
Okay, so what do you think say government will fit do like this now?
If you look government matter, not to talk government. Because the government no dey even dey help us at all. We will be youth wey dey the country, no dey help us at all. So wetin I want make them do, at least make them bring price of things down, so that we go fit cope with them. Because most of us get family, you understand. So if they no bring things down, how we want to cope? At that time we come dey see kidnapping, yahoo don for everywhere.
No dey see another.
Yahoo don for everywhere because of the way government take to us. on a normal young man like me, no, still say I'll go do person fraud, say I won't live happily. No, happiness no dey inside that thing. I just say the way things does this way.
How they make it do am?
Yes, now everything I go talk.
All right, now thank you. Are you coping in Nigeria right now?
To be honest, I'm actually coping by God's grace. That's it.
So you are coping by God's grace.
Yes.
Okay. So where has God's grace taken you to? What's different?
At least I know that there is a huge difference from the previous states than now. But the other thing is that the way things are going right now, it's not really easy. I won't lie, but if you start sitting down and saying, okay, because of this, you will not really do something. So you just have to keep upping your game and do something that will make you survive and all.
So what do you do now? You work how many jobs?
Actually, I work 2 jobs, yes. But one is a remoted job and the other one, I'm actually a teacher.
That's interesting. Oh, physics. That's interesting. Pretty girls love math. So, what do you think the government can do to better the situation?
To me, even though I say anything concerning that, they literally don't do anything. That's
Please still say something. Just say something.
that's true, because sometimes I was talking with my friends and when we are talking about some things for things to really be fine, but we see that if there is actually light, lights, then things are going to be very, very, very perfect. But now there's nothing they can do about giving us a standard and stable light. Because if there's light, some person don't have to get full and to do their business and run some certain things. But then they won't consider that, because if they say if there is constant light, there's no way they are going to run their business, generator business and some other things. So that's greed totally. So even though we say this, it's not going to happen. So
Well, at least we will never stop speaking about it. So government should try to improve the lights condition. We will never stop speaking about it. We will keep on trying. So thank you very much. Coping in Nigeria right now.
Like it is right now, the economy of the country is affecting everybody seriously. It's affecting the youth especially, because some youth don't have job, while some do mere job to survive. Before things were cheap, life was easy, but now everything is so high and cost. Everything is times 2. Imagine a bucket of Gary 5,000 naira in some places.
Not 5,000.
Yes, bucket of Gary is 5,000 naira. So the thing is really, really affecting the poor people in the country who cannot afford it. So we believe that the government should make a change. They should make a change by bringing down the cost of price of things and bring back fuel subsidy, so that things will be better for all of us.
I want you now to speak to people that are actually, many of us are struggling, let's be honest. But at the same time, some people are still doing so well. Because I believe you are doing, look at your skin is glowing. Her skin, flawless. So how do you manage to keep your skin flawless like this? So what's it that you are doing differently? Do you now have, do you have more sources of income? Do you now take like more jobs that you did not consider possible before? What's different for you?
Yes, I do more jobs more than I do before. I go out there and search for more jobs. I do any job to survive. I don't keep to one single job, because if I do, hungry will kill me. So I go search for more jobs, get myself busy, search for more funds to help. If not, hungry will buy somebody.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much. How are you coping in Nigeria right now?
Okay, I'm coping very fine and well, thank God, but the situation is not really pleasant. We're just trying to manage.
You're very fine. You're not struggling.
Of course, for me personally, I will not really say I'm struggling because, like I say, not everything in the river is drowning. Some things are also swimming. Seeing how
Wow. You got you.
opportunity that
You gotta give me the, show me the way.
all right.
Show me the way. So what's different for you now? Do you maybe now have more sources of income? Do you now say eat like twice in a day and like leave one out of it? Do you by yourself instead of eating out? What's different? Because something has to change.
Yeah, of course. What changed was that I knew that I cannot change the situation of the country right now by just complaining. All right, everything is going up, the incomes are going up, and the rest of them. So all I needed to do was look for how to better my income. All right, so they say what money cannot buy, more money will buy.
Okay, energy, I love it. So what do you think government can do?
All right, so for me personally, I'm not a politician, but I know maybe they can find a way to reduce the price of things. If there's a way they can find a way to reduce the price of things so that at least the common man can be able to afford some things like the fuel price, and there's always a hike of a lot of commodities in the market, right? So
reducing the price is a way. All right. One of the ways at least. Okay. Thank you very much. How are you coping with Nigeria's situation, the economic situation of Nigeria? How are you surviving and thriving?
Anyway, if you ask me about the economy of Nigeria right now, what I would say is that for me, even if I was passing through it a little better some 3-5 years ago, presently now, I must tell you the truth, that it has not been easy as a mom, taking care of cheery boys at home, feeding, like you telling me about feeding 3 times way back. But presently, you want to do the 101 kind of feeding, like you not having a 3 square meal. And it becomes tough on family. You having the relationship with your children peacefully years back. Right now, everybody are just trying to be on their own. So the economy right now is truly telling on everybody, because if me having a smaller family is feeling this heat, then I want to wonder those having little children who they feed almost every time. How do they cope? So for me, I must tell you, it has not been easy, but thank God the gift of life is not something we buy. If not, it would have been real hard.
And so what do you think government can do to just make everything better? What do you think can be done?
What I think the government should do at this point is beating the barrier in between this political stuff. Like when you have, before the governor came into seat, there was something we have like the APC, the PDP. Now that the governor is on seat, he should please, as the father of Delta State, see Deltans as one body. That thing, that political party divide in humanity, it should please try to look at it at this point and see that at this point of being the father and the governor of the state, let's work as one. Let's work to achieve great goals. So this political enmity cost everywhere. The governor should please at this point look into it and see that Deltans are better than political parties and campaign that we've done in the last 1 year. He's into office 1 year now. We still wish him in the next 7 years or the first 4 years that he should please gather Deltans and see how we work to make the state a better place for everybody to stay.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. So in order for hungry to not kill you, you have to go out there and search for more jobs, take on remote jobs, and do better things that could better your living condition while also waiting on the government to make Nigeria better. But that brings us to the end of today's edition of Street Talk. Till next week when we come your way again, my name is Chinazo Uche Fajama, and this is Delta Television, the People's Pride.
Welcome back from the street. Thank you so much, Chinazol, for that one. Hitting the street and asking Nigerians how are they coping in this economy. And from everything we've heard, nobody's having it easy in this country. Even if they want to be positive, even if they want to tell you, oh, this is what I'm doing to make things better for myself, it is hard on everybody. Yeah. But still, as Nigerians, as resilient people, we are still pushing. But the question is, will this ever stop? That was the question I asked myself this morning when I looked at how things are going. I said, will it stop? Are we going to have a day where we wake up and we see steady power supply? We're not like, okay, they'll take the light very soon, or how many hours will the lights stay on? Is there any time when we wake up in Nigeria and things will just be better? When Nigerians will be bitter, when Nigerians will be complaining about, different things going wrong. But anyway, Gaga, how have you been coping in this economy? Let me ask you.
God has been faithful. That's what I would just say.
Don't bring God into this, because whatever we're going through in this country, we brought it upon ourselves as Nigerians.
You asked
God
me
did
how
not tell us who to vote for. Nigerians, not all Nigerians do, but because we as a people, we could not stand our ground to say this is what we want. We wouldn't say no to corruption and to election rigging and the rest. This is what we brought upon ourselves.
I had this conversation with Uche when I was on radio on Monday, and I made the statement and I put it in context. When I say God has been faithful, I'm talking for me. Now, the country as a whole, God will not come down and do what we ought to do.
Yes.
So, and that's why you realize that even in the midst of all this, there are some people that are thriving. It's just like in COVID. When
we know the set of people that are thriving.
And it's not just politicians. There are people that do living well, that they are benefiting from the economy as it stands. It's just like during COVID when people are complaining, businesses closed and all of that. People like the likes of Zoom and all of that, their businesses were doing extremely well. So now, when you look at it holistically from the country perspective, we have to, as Nigerians, do what we need to do to move the country forward. But as an individual that does not have control of everything of the economy, yes, you need providence, you need God and hard work. So for me, so even as you put in your hard work, because the truth is, as it stands now, I can't change the economy. So that's why when you think of the immediate alternative, it's not like I cannot change the economy directly, immediately. So what I have to do is my environment. Before the break, you were talking about how you went into poultry.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So now, when you improve your source of living, so it's not disputing or increase your source of income, your income. It's not disputing the hardship and the economic indices in the country. But guess what? You have a better way to paddle through the storms and wade through the storms of life.
A better but harder way. It's hard. Imagine me as a civil servant, I go to work, and at the end of the day, I earn this amount of money, and I'm thinking of how to save. I'm saving just to start up a business. And you know, when you go into poultry, you have to wait, you have to be patient, you have to invest money, invest time. So it is the harder way. If things were better in Nigeria, many Nigerians who be suffering the way they are suffering. They may be earning money, but they are suffering. That's what I mean.
But
so places are
when you say the harder way,
jobs.
in that context, let me tell you, there is no wealthy man that did not inherit his wealth that you will ask that will tell you that
yes,
I
understand that getting money or getting success is not easy. But here in Nigeria, the suffering is so unnecessary. If things were better, we won't be going through what we're going through in the country. But just like Ogaga has said, you said you've been surviving by the grace of God. I too have been surviving by the grace of God, because honestly, when I sit down and check how much I earn, check how much I spend, it's the grace of God that has been carrying us from January to where we are, November 2024. And I also want to advise you, dear viewer, this is not the time to be in competition with anybody. Every Saturday, after closing from work on my way home, I see different bars, different eateries open. People are out there enjoying themselves, partying hard, and Nigerians are complaining that there is no money in the economy.
You get
so
the
where are
point
you getting the money from? But anyway, it's okay for you to enjoy yourself. It's okay for you to enjoy yourself. It's okay for you to spend your money, because you earned your money. You're working for your money, but don't be under pressure to live a certain kind of life, to maintain a certain kind of lifestyle, because your friends, your colleagues, your church members, they are doing it. Don't do it. This is the time for you to really look at how much you're earning and start to budget. Try to save. Try to make sure that you are living below your means. Yes, live below your means. That's it. Don't spend, if you know that you're earning a particular amount of money, you don't have to spend everything in a month because you want to maintain a particular lifestyle. I know it is hard, but try your best. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. And do not forget to check your health. This morning we're talking about how we need to incorporate regular checkups into our lifestyle. And it's very important, Ogaga, that as Nigerians are going through this, we are struggling, we are being resilient, we're hardworking. Do not neglect your health. Always go for regular checkups. It's very important. A lot of us have issues that you don't even know until you go to the hospital, until you go through these checkups and they tell you, oh, this is what you're going through. You may not know. And that's why you hear of people sleeping and not waking up, people slumming and they die. make sure you take care of your health. As you're chasing the bag, as you're chasing the money, also chase your health. Make your health a priority. You have anything to add before we go to the next segment?
No, not really. I think you said it's like from your mental health to healthy relationships and regular checkups. Then practice a healthy lifestyle, basically.
Yes, remember to exercise, remember to eat well as well.
Drink lots of water.
Exactly, remember your water, very important. Now let's move on to the next segment of Morning Ride. It is a paper review this morning. We're going to go through the papers until we're joined by our analyst. So let's go through them. The first paper for review this morning is the Nigerian Tribune. I'll start with the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The major headline on the Nigerian Tribune says federal government reverses 18-year age limit for admission into tertiary institutions. Rider, minister hints on review of national education policy, warns tertiary governing councils against floating extant rules. That is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. At the topmost, federal government moves to curtail negative net assets of 39 trillion naira. The riders, to enforce compliance, sanction airing NDAs, MOFI to register all federal government assets. You can get that on page 7. On page 23, fear of post-election unrest in United States as tensions rise. Well, on page 10, hashtag end bad governance protest. Court strikes out treason charges against minors. IGP orders probe into their welfare in detention. Okay, the riders. Why Tinubu ordered their release, says Shetima. Falana advises president to enroll them in schools. At the bottom strip, LASMA officer set ablaze in Lagos. This is so sad, and that is on page 26. Oyebanji appoints Justice Ogumoye as acting chief judge. That is on page 23. We have on page 10, I am satisfied with my achievement in 8 years, says Obaseki. Tinubu promotes acting chief of army staff Oluyede to lieutenant general. That is on page 2. And the last headline from the Nigerian Tribune says, why Tinubu's economic policies more workable than Atiku's, says Omokri. And that is on page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune.
The next daily here is the Vanguard newspaper. The major headline here says, hashtag end bad governance. Why we released minors. This is a statement credited to the federal government. They've got lots of riders. I'll just take a few. Drops case against 37 minors, 82 orders as court strikes out charge. Minors facing trial released on compassionate ground. This is coming from Shetima, the vice president. And minors will be reintegrated, and this is according to Governor Yusuf. At the top strip, deregulation of license to blend of spec products, Dangote tells Pinnacle Oil. Again, national grid collapses 4 times in 24 days. You can get details of that story on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. US presidential poll, Harris, Trump upbeat about chances in king race. Why forfeited illicit arms pose security threats? This is coming from the NSA. Federal government reverses 18-year admission benchmark in tertiary institutions. Protesters storm National Assembly over hardship. Get details of that on page 6 of the Vanguard. Why telecoms infrastructure must be protected. Coming credited to the NCC. Tinubu decorates acting chief of army staff Oluyede with new rank. Ondo Guba, Ajayi floor Aiyedatiwa in debate. PDP campaign cancelled, stating that. And lastly, governor's performance excellent, and this is coming from the APC. Both parties commending their candidates.
Okay, let's check the Daily Times now. The major headline on the Daily Times says, Sokoto government raises alarm over infiltration of new terror group, Lukarawas. I hope I got that right. And the rider sect currently operational in 5 local government areas. That is on page 2 of the Daily Times. At the topmast, 7th NDIS. President Tinubu calls for global partnerships to drive national development. Deregulation, not a license to blend off-spec products, jeopardize national interest. Dangote tells Pinnacle Oil. That's on page 2. Niger Delta youths threaten to protest in Abuja. Demand removal of NDDC's MD. That's on page 17. Federal government reverses 18-year admission age for tertiary institutions. That's on page 14. National grid collapses again as TCN battles to restore power. That is on page 5. At the bottom strip, HOR queries Health Ministry over 10 billion naira PPP program concession agreement. And the last headline from the Daily Times, LASMA officer set ablaze while discharging official duties. That is on page 5. What is happening to humanity?
Moving out to the Guardian newspaper, the lead says, cash and carry. Public engagements, debates fading as vote buying rules polls. Get that on page 6 of the Guardian. 16-year-olds now eligible for tertiary education as FG reverses age policy. Sokoto local government chair alleges 1 million naira youth inducement from new terrorist group. Very sad. Minors freed on humanitarian conditions, says FG as NAPS offers scholarships. Deregulation not licensed to blend off-spec product, says Dangote. Rising energy demand, vandalism affecting grid stability, say experts. FBI warns of disinformation as Trump gives condition to concede poll. CGN laments rising vulnerability of Nigerians, firms to cyber attacks. And lastly, from the Guardian newspaper, federal government pledges to cushion hardship, boost MSMEs.
Okay, moving on to the next paper, the Daily Independent. I'll just pick a few headlines from the Daily Independent newspaper. The major one says, hashtag end bad governance protest. Go and be responsible citizens. Tinubu tells 119 paddled suspects. This is sounding like go and see no more. And the riders urges Kaduna Kano governments to anchor their rehabilitation and reintegration. Their release demonstrates Tinubu's compassion for masses, says governors. Would he have done this if he didn't receive backlash from, human rights organizations and Nigerians as well? Well, that's coming from the governors. At the top strip, PDP calls for total overhaul of EFCC Act, accuses agency of picking on key opposition leaders. At the bottom strip, we have oil spillage. Cancer now common feature in Bayelsa, says Diri. That is on page 6. We'll move on to the next paper.
Next is the Daily Trust. And the photo speak here is on the US election, and the headline says, Harris, Trump, Americans await outcome. We've got 3 riders. The first, whoever wins is set to make history. Time to abolish electoral college system. Emergence of any of them won't have impact on Nigeria. Ex-ambassador. But Nigerians are campaigned very well for this election. And lastly, from the Daily Trust, Boko Haram terrorists flee into Borno villages. And the riders, as Chadian troops intensify onslaught. They've abandoned MNJTF. This is coming from the locals. Some foreign soldiers fighting in Nigerian territory. And the last rider, it's a political matter, not operational, says MNJTF.
All right, the last headline or the last paper for review this morning is the Punch newspaper. Major headline says, nationwide blackout as grid suffers 10th collapse in 2024. I actually thought it was the 9th. But the Punch says it's the 10th collapse in 2024. The riders, Generation drops to 0 megawatts. 22 gencos affected nationwide. Partial power in southwest. That is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. The top strip, I'll take just one headline from the top strip. Eyes on swing states as Harris-Trump battle for U.S. presidency. That's on page 7. At the bottom strip, we have this headline. Over 300 billion naira lost in protest. Shetima tells released hungry miners. How?
Lost. Okay.
How?
Is it the vandalism?
I do not even
Probably.
know. 300 billion
Yeah,
naira. Over 300 billion naira lost in protest. Shetima tells released hungry miners. I think we need details from the vice president on how 300 billion naira was lost. And then this last headline I'll take from the Punch says, sex tapes. Equatorial Guinea installs CCTV in offices, suspends officials. That is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. That story has been trending on social media, and I think Nigerians have carried the story on their head. But this is a good one. It's high time we install CCTV cameras in our offices to check what's happening in these offices, and then the officials have been suspended as well. We'll come back to the studio now. So those are the headlines this morning. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by our analyst, engineer Meshach Oza. He'll be here to analyze some of the headlines with us. Please stay tuned.
You see, maintaining peace and security in Delta State remains a priority for the Governor Sheriff Oberewori-led administration.
It's clear for everyone to see that the Governor Sheriff-led administration is focused on promoting the well-being of all Deltans. Did you know that the Delta State Contributory Health Insurance Scheme currently caters to over 1,995,816 enrollees?
My God, no wonder Dr. Ifeanyi Oswaza is said that Governor Sheriff is staying committed to delivering the more agenda to Deltans.
Yes, you can say that again. Are you aware that Governor Sheriff Oberewori's administration has also taken significant steps to ease land acquisition as a strategy to mitigate Nigerians' housing deficits?
Governor Sheriff, very impressive. He's not just focusing on one area, maybe just health or peace and security. Is making sure that all areas experience the more agenda. Even when the Osun State Governor, Senator Ademola Adeleke, inaugurated the completed Okpanami-Busa bypass, he said he was particularly impressed with the performances of Governor Oberewori in 1 year of his administration.
Of course, it is clear now that the Governor Sheriff Infrastructural Development is creating an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Ahead of a lady by the name Doris Uzo, who relocated her business to the bypass area, and she's doing very well.
Talking about the bypass, Governor Sheriff did a very good one there. The 5.3 kilometer road
and 10.6 kilometer length of drain.
Yes. Coming from Warri now, I didn't need to drive through those distance Coca area. I just took this shortcut, you know.
Hey, you know what, born your friend now. I know you. You get money, but you know what, spend them.
Governor Sheriff don't do road. Make I still waste. Don't be your fault. Now Sheriff will do road for you. You don't see him now.
Governor Sheriff putting smiles on the faces of Deltans.
So we are very happy because our governor is working so hard.
New Sheriff in town. He's doing very, very well in Delta State.
Brought to you by Delta State Ministry of Information.
In the studio is engineer Meshach Oza, our analyst, who's going to analyze some of these headlines with us this morning. Good morning, engineer Meshach.
It's super Wednesday, always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I always look forward to coming here on Wednesdays.
Welcome. It's good to have you.
Thanks for
okay, so let's look at some of the major headlines. Let's quickly, I started with the Nigerian Tribune, so let's look at the major headline from the Nigerian Tribune. Federal government reverses 18-year age limit for admission into tertiary institutions. The new Minister for Education has reversed the 18-year
of what use were they putting an age limit for you to get into university.
So our children will be matured before they go into tertiary
That's
institutions.
it's very unnecessary. That's not the criteria. Most of them that say children be mature. Maturity is a state of mind. We have a lot of people that are politicians that are 50 years today. They are still like children. They don't even know what they are doing in terms of leadership.
It always hits the politicians.
You said yes. No, I have to go there because if they reference their children, I'll reference them. We have a lot of neophytes in the political class. So it is not about, you see, it's a misplacement of priority for the first minister in the first place to even think along that line. Okay. It's major problems of the educational sector.
So that controversy, did you think it's part of what caused the president?
Yes, it's possible. Bad policy.
To reshuffle his cabinet and
bad policy. Bad policy. Yes, it's one of, because I mean it was like a minister that lacked content, that lacked directive.
So does it mean that these ministers don't sit down with
a lot of times, most of a lot of times, majority of government agencies, MDAs, majority of their bosses, ministers, you know, they want to be seen to be impressing the government, and they just think up an idea, or when somebody sells an idea to them, convinces them without recourse to a general perspective. They just rush to the media, and once they get into the media, it's over. Okay, so you agree with
you are okay with this new reversal?
There was, for me, what the former reversal was not even sacrosanct, because it's a statutory something. 6334 system. It started in 1988, and 6 years of primary school, 3 years of secondary. It's expected you start primary school at 6 years. That was the template in the educational curriculum status. Now 6 years of junior secondary, 6 years of senior secondary. That's another 12 years. That's 6 years primary school, 6 years. That's 12 years. You understand? And that means for you to get into university, you're prepared. That's 18 years. 6 years primary school, from birth to primary school, 6 years primary school, 3 years junior secondary, 3 years senior secondary. That's 18 years. So when that minister came and said one thing that, I mean, the status quo remains. If my child is physically mature, is mentally mature enough and academically mature enough to go into university at 16 years, I mean, I don't see, if I can afford it, I don't see any reason. Okay. Why did government not say, it is a crime for somebody to go to university at 25? If you don't have money, please come, government will sponsor you. You're supposed to enter university at 18.
It's okay, let's take another headline.
Let's take another headline. Moving now to the Daily Independent. Hashtag end bad governance protest. Go and be responsible citizens. Tinubu tells 119 pardoned suspects. We've got Rajas urges Kaduna Kanu governors to anchor their rehabilitation, reintegration. Their release demonstrates Tinubu's compassion for masses, and I'll put that side by side with this headline from The Punch. Over 300 billion naira lost in protest. Shetima tells released hungry minors.
It's quite, you see, there's a way.
Let's start with the release of the minors. Yes. I know you're about to hit that that comment.
All right, political pressure is part of the reason.
This is on humanitarian grounds.
What's humanitarian
and
grounds?
Compassion.
Compare with it. They should stop. You should stop confusing English. It's political pressure, and they saw, you know. And what I love most is the fact that those kids or minors or young adults or now teenagers. Look at the teenager. Look at the contradiction. The policeman came and said after the first court action, they acted out a script. They were schooled on what to act when they get to court. Most of you should just go to the front and start conversing. Like, I mean, I laughed when I saw the video. You just knew it was a script. Now, the police insulted themselves the more when they now came out to counter that script that some of them were 13-year-olds are not minors. Besides that, some have children, some are adults, some are married with kids. That is not a justification. And I didn't see professionalism in the narrative of the police towards what transpired in court. That aside, now the international community picked the church, the clergy, the religious bodies, individuals, government organizations, and the pressure was coming from everywhere to release these people. Look at the state of most of them were emaciated. Whatever, let me tell you, those people are culpable because we saw videos of the vandalization because it was a peaceful end bad governance protest that transcended into was hijacked. And if this government had the opportunity, they would not release those tools. But the pressure, and they used it as a caveat, as a political carrot for 2027. And that was what the government did. They took them to Aso Rock. Shetima was schooled on what to say, paid them. Kano State indigenous flew the kids immediately through a chartered flight from the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, and that was where it happened. So for me, both sides acted out a script. The government acted out their script. The actors, the minors acted out their script. And the winner are the minors, because forget, like it or hate it, the government said, Humanitarian Affairs Ministry, take a look. There's nowhere, last, 1 million for enter those kids' hands.
But don't you think that we know that these kids, they didn't go on the
These
street?
people are not kids.
We know that these minors.
This might call them minors.
We know that these minors didn't go on the street.
Now, what I wanted, yes, I was going there. Now, the government premised their suspension, or rather their arrest and prosecution, on the fact that they were carrying Russian flags. And throughout, the vice president, the investigators, nobody mentioned the source of the Russian flag. The sponsors. The sponsor is the source. I expected, and that has been the biggest problem with Nigeria. We know the people sponsoring Boko Haram, name them. Nobody will name. We know the people, Russian flag. These guys did not go to most of those kids don't know the color of Russian flag. The flags just came, they were conscripted. Most of them were Amajuris, conscripted on the streets because of they manipulated them based on, after pauperizing them, they were on guard, and now take money, you should carry this flag, go around, and they were acting on impulse, the kids. Go around, once you see anything you don't understand. We know how a rich situation is, and that is what happened.
You agree with the vice president that over 300 billion naira has been lost during the protests?
In what way? You explain, the vice president explained, maybe you help me explain what were the things that 300 billion, you know what 300 billion is?
Anyway, let's move on from that.
Well, the vice president will need to throw more light on that.
Exactly, and explain what infrastructure they destroyed. The
place that's worth 300 billion. Because I've noticed something about our political elite. They always, once you give them an opportunity to pad the budget or to ask for supplementary budget, you are in trouble. If you are saying 20 billion, 10 billion, understandable, 300
billion naira?
That's a lot of money.
Let's move on. The Vanguard newspaper has this headline. Again, national grid collapses 4 times in 24 days. And the Punch captured it this way. Nationwide blackout as grid suffers 10th collapse in 2024.
Should clap for Nigeria.
Generation drops to 0 megawatts. 22 gencos affected nationwide. Partial power in southwest.
Well, it's an unfortunate situation.
We have 11 months in a year.
Yeah, and we're 24 times.
The national grid has collapsed for 10 times.
10 out of 11.
10 over 11. Yeah, and 4 times in this month alone. And rather in the last month.
In the last 24 days.
24 days. An unfortunate situation because that's the sense of people. If you were in a saner climb, the permanent secretary, Minister of Power and Energy would have resigned. The Minister of Power would have resigned.
Thank you.
The Minister of Interior would have resigned. The President, I know he won't resign, but he would have tendered a public apology. And all that the National Assembly should have tendered a public apology. There should have been a board of inquiry set up to look into the problem of this national grid. What is the problem? Is it vandalization? Is it fifth columnist action? Is it the action? Is it a deliberate action to circumvent the progress and trajectory of government and governance? So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. But all said and done, that is the Nigeria that we are today, where the rich pauperize the poor to live a lavish life. Most of them, whether the grid is failing or not, if all of us were connected to this grid, and Aso Rock was connected to the grid, not that they were powered by a power turbine from Okpai. And the people of Okpai don't even have light, but Abuja gets their light from Okpai. It calls for question the kind of country where Nigeria, with the resources we have, with the manpower we have, does not have any justification not to have power 24 hours a day. Because power is the bane of, or rather is the success index of any economy.
Ogega talked about something about the Minister of Power saying each state should begin to generate their own power, have their own grid to avoid issues like this. Do you really think that will happen in Nigeria and it will solve the problem of?
Yes, it can happen and it can solve the problem. Now, why do I say that? Look at there was such a time in the public service of Delta State where it was difficult to have power, and all that. Very pretty difficult. Most offices had generators or diesel engine plants being run, and but now when the government went into the independent power project in collusion with the Ministry of Energy, most of our offices, what we need to work on is our improve upon is our maintenance culture. Now, the studio is functioning today while using independent power. Our offices and most all government offices are under the stadium is under the independent power. So there is a look. It is workable, but the system is the biggest problem.
All right, let's go outside the shores of Nigeria and Africa. Let's go to the US.
I thought we were going to Equatorial Guinea.
No, let's go to the US. Nigerian Tribune says, fear of post-election unrest in United States as tensions rise. I put that with this headline from the Daily Trust. Harris, Trump, Americans await outcome. Whoever wins is set to make history. What do you think about the election?
The emergence of any of them won't have impact on Nigeria, says ex-ambassador.
So do you think
that's never impact on Nigeria? We are the only people that can impact on ourselves with the kind of leadership that we have. What do you want American policies to change your own policies? You need to enact policies that are people-friendly, policies that are practicable.
So do you think the result will bring any form of unrest in the US?
There won't be any unrest. Who wins will win. If it's Republican,
but
tensions
are
listen. The American election is premised on a lot of emotions, unlike the extremist line. You see, the Republicans and the Democrats. Now, the Republic, if Trump wins, for example, there will be problems for those extremists because he's an anti-extremist. There's going to be a problem. And Harris is more of a democratic neutral who would come with a mindset of governance. Trump comes with vendetta in his heart. But however, you see, these are social media and print and media sensation. They said prior to the election has come and gone. It was so peaceful it was. Yes, we expect maybe in Philadelphia, in Wisconsin, those areas where there is collegiate vote and where Republicans are supposedly having favorites. But I make bold to say that the elections will come and go. The kind of expectations, it is not people are expecting the Nigerian kind of violence. Americans are too well informed, too well educated, and too well politically emancipated to know when something is right and when something is wrong. It's not like it is not going to happen. There's going to be a little bit of here and there issues, but it's not something to worry about.
Okay. The Guardian has this major headline, Cash and Carry. Public engagement debate fading as vote buying rules pause. Cash and carry.
Is pause where in Nigeria or
in Nigeria? It has to be in Nigeria.
No, I want to be specific.
If you look at the photo speak there, you see the ballot box and you see.
Besides all that, our biggest problem.
Do you think public engagement and debates? Do you think they're fading, or do you think they will ever fade, and vote buying would continue to rule the polls?
Well, I think certain institutions will be strengthened. Yes, they will fade away if our institutions are strengthened. If the judiciary
are not strengthened,
if they are strengthened, when I talk about institutions here, if INEC is strengthened to do its work, if the judiciary is strengthened to interpret the laws of the land,
we won't have need for debates.
Yes, because most of these debates are orchestrated, are scripted. I mean, we're talking of vote buying now. Under the Electoral Act, it is criminal offense. So if the judiciary is strengthened to interpret the Electoral Act to the level it's expected to, I mean, these things will reduce. Because the truth is, our biggest problem is INEC and the lecturers, those professors that announce INEC results. They are our biggest problem. So that's why I don't pity them when you see them face a lot of problems. They say they're not paying them one thing, they're not paying them. The same people you see.
The citizens not part of the problem. So the electorate.
The electorate, yes, all of us. We are electorate inclusive.
Not all of us.
No, when I mean all of us, I'm talking of the electorate.
Yeah.
The electorate. It depends on the divide you are. When they say everybody, you will not count yourself. If the reference is made to say all of us, if those references affect you, I know it doesn't affect you. But however, moving forward, the returning officers are part of the problem, because after they have compromised on the thrones of professional etiquette, you see them when they are announcing these results. I shake my head when truly what they are announcing is not the reflection of what transpired in the polling units and the polling booths and all that. Then INEC, in whose trust Nigerians came out to vote in 2023, and at the time we needed them most to restore. In fact, INEC is our biggest problem. They could have saved this country in 2023 if they have allowed the Beavers machine to work. But moving forward, Nigerians generally, our mentality is a problem.
Before we go, before we let you go, this morning on Street Talk, we asked the question, the economic situation in Nigeria, how are you coping? So I'm going to ask you, how are you coping?
Now I had to improve my sources of income. And it's a tough one. There have been regulations in terms of reduction. If I was drinking one jug of water before, I mean 5 jug of whatever.
Are you sure it's water you want to say, or beer?
No, I'm trying to be pluralistic. If I was taking a bottle of Ragolis, 5 bottles of Ragolis before, now I'm taking 1 bottle of Ragolis. Okay. If I was eating pepper soup 4 times a week, now I'll be taking 1 time. I'm always home on time, closer to the family, spend less. Better you spend the money with the family. And
so if not for the economy, where do you spend your money, sir?
No. I don't know. I'm just telling you, she's asking a question. I'm relating. Well, the truth be said, you can ask the PD. She knows very well. I love family and add value to yourself.
And try to increase your source of income.
Your source of income. Spend less on frivolities. Right. Have a scale of preference and prioritize your needs.
Thank you so much, Engineer Mesha, for joining us on Paper Review.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you on set with us.
Thank
you for coming.
Yeah.
And that's how we end Paper Review this morning. Get yourself copies of these newspapers, read up for yourself, and get to know the details of these headlines. Moving on next, we're going to be bringing you our interview segment shortly, so please stay tuned.
That first news, that first kick, that first cry, and those first moments put baby to mother's breast right away. That first yellowish milk, colostrum, has the nutrients baby needs to grow healthy, strong, and sharp. Ask your health worker to put your baby to the breast within the first hour.
Start strong. Zero water exclusive breastfeeding for better future.
This message is from the Delta State Committee on Food and Nutrition and the Delta State Ministry of Information. My people, una know say to chop plenty fruit and vegetable every time dey help person live long. You no go fit see anything when they give good nutrition when boku pass fruit and vegetable. Fruits and vegetables get plenty vitamins like vitamin A, B, C and E, and other minerals like magnesium, zinc, phosphorus, potassium and folic acid. You see, food when contain vegetables and fruit, they help lower blood pressure, reduce the risk of heart disease and stroke, prevent some kind cancer, help lower cholesterol level and blood pressure, remove yamayama from your system, protect you from digestion wahala and high problem, come make your skin dey shine muke muke. E good to eat fruits and vegetables every day, and if you even get blender, you fit blend different fruit when you like together to make sweet drink when oyibo dey call smoothie. Now the Delta State Committee of Food and Nutrition and Delta State Ministry of Information now bring una this message.
first news, that first kick, that first cry, and those first moments put baby to mother's breast right away. That first yellowish milk, colostrum, has the nutrients baby needs to grow healthy, strong, and sharp. Ask your health worker to put your baby to the breast within the first hour.
Start strong. Zero water exclusive breastfeeding for better future.
This message is from the Delta State Committee on Food and Nutrition and the Delta State Ministry of Information.
Segment on Wednesday's edition of Morning Ride. Today we'll be discussing a critical issue that has stirred national debate: the recent detention, prosecution, and subsequent release of minors involved in the hashtag End Bad Governance protest. This protest, which began as a peaceful call for change, took a complex turn as young people were detained on serious charges, igniting widespread public concern and legal debate over their treatment and rights. Joining us to provide legal insight is Dr. Sam Ugbo, a distinguished legal consultant and teacher. Dr. Ugbo will help us unpack the implications of these events, the legal frameworks around juvenile justice, and what this situation says about governance and youth rights in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sam Ugbo.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's start with you giving us an overview of the legal grounds under which these minors were detained during the hashtag End Bad Governance protest.
Well, first of all, I actually don't know the real age of those minors. Okay. We call them minors, but I don't know their real age. Ordinarily, any person that is below the age of 18 is a minor. And when such a person commits a crime, the law says that he cannot be prosecuted in an open court. You know, there is a court meant for such person, and we call that court the juvenile court. There is a way you prosecute that category of persons. But what I saw is that they were prosecuted in an open court, in a high court, probably because the charges preferred against them are triable in a high court. Along they were charged with treason and treasonable felony because probably they had the flag of another country, probably is it France or Russia?
Russia.
They had their flag, and because of that they were arrested and subsequently prosecuted. The truth is that they ought not to be prosecuted in such court if at all there is any allegation against them. And again, having a Russian flag, the question is whether it even amounted to levying war against the state of Nigeria to amount to what you call treason or treasonable felony. Treason or treasonable felony is a very serious offense. It's a capital offense, and as such, you don't have to play with it.
Okay, I would want you to still explain the charges that were levied against these minors. Treasonable felony, carrying the Russian flag, is that indeed treasonable felony? And why is the charge so extreme? Why is it considered extreme?
Yeah, that is the point I raised. For an offense or for an act to be treasonable or treasonable felony, it has to be that the suspects or the defendants have levied war. You must have levied war against the country. And when we say levy war, it means that you have tried to upturn probably to, in one way or the other, plot a coup against the country. You have to levy war. It has to be that you have levied war. You have tried to topple the government in one way or the other. It's not just to have the flag of another country. That doesn't amount to what we call treason or treasonable felony.
So just to get this clear, walking on the streets, going on a protest and carrying Russian flag and saying or calling on the military to come and take over power, that is not treasonable felony. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it can. One can say, okay, well, one thing you have to know is that the police, oftentimes when they arrest people, they can prefer charges against them. But the question is whether you can prove. And prove in that circumstance that because it involves a criminal matter, is proven beyond reasonable doubt. The question is whether you can prove that these people have actually, attempted to topple the government. Oh, they did that. That could have been, they could have as well been charged under other laws. There are other laws that could be conduct likely to cause breach of peace and other offenses that they would have been charged with. But charging them with treason and treasonable felony, I don't think the police would have been able to substantiate the claim that they actually attempted to levy war against the state or the country.
Okay, so I think it was the police public relations officer, Benjamin Hundeyin, who was speaking that they are not minors because they are up to the age of 13. So legally, where does that come in when you say these people can be charged to court because they are up to the age of 18? Because you talked about a juvenile court and minor below 18. So legally,
no, before I started, I actually said that we do not know the actual age of these people. You have just said that the police said they are up to
13.
Even at that, at 13, they ought not to have been charged in an open court. They are still juveniles. They are still minors. They are still young people. In fact, they are not young people. They are still minors. Many of those children have been asked to do whatever they have done. They know too that these people were not actually, they had not done anything to topple the government. They had not done anything to levy war against the state. Treasonable felony is not just what you wake up and say because somebody had flags of another country and then he has it. No. How can you prove it? Proving the elements of the offense matters a lot.
All right. Yeah. Now, what rights do these minors have under the Nigerian Constitution and the Child Rights Act when it comes to peaceful protest and freedom of expression?
The truth is that we have different conventions and international laws that Nigeria has become a signatory to by virtue of Section 12 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Well, there are many of them, and as such, as a citizen of this country, you have right to protest. Those people protested against bad governance. They have right to do that, just like every other citizen have right to protest and say, government, what you are doing is not right, it's not good, we want a change. Now, probably they have gone beyond their power. Maybe they went extra mile to have, or maybe call for military. But that is still within the confine of protest. You have right to protest. Calling on the military to come and take over does not mean that you have actually attempted to take over the government. You can say anything you want to say during protest. That doesn't mean that you have actually attempted to topple the government or you have actually attempted to change power overnight. So that is
calling for the military to take over. Is that not?
It is a mere talk. Has the military actually come to take over? They have right to say any other thing.
But it's not incitement.
Well, that is what the angle from where the police have come. It is not as if what the children have done that they have actually done so well. Yes, what they did, calling on the military, having Nigerian flag and others, they are all crimes. They are all crimes. But what we are saying is that why keep these children for a long time?
Yes.
Okay. Them
so it begs the next question. How long is it legal to detain a suspect or in a situation, how long legally?
The Constitution says it should not be more than 48 hours, at most 2 days. They should be charged to court. You charge them to court within 48 hours. Within 48 hours, when they are charged, you can even charge to a high court. Before now, they charge to magistrate court, where the magistrate will now order their remand to keep them in custody, pending when the DPP or whatever from Ministry of Justice will give advice and all that. But now you have right to charge them immediately, within 48 hours, to the nearest court. Charge them to court within 48 hours.
Now we saw these minors being kept for over 90 days. Some of them 97 days.
That is why they have trampled upon their rights. What is their interest? Why do you have to keep them for a long time before charging them?
So in your
what have they done?
Yes, in your opinion, was the arrest and detention of these minors legally justified, or could it be seen as an overreach by law enforcement?
Well, by virtue of Section 4 of the Police Act, the police has the right to arrest and investigate any matter. Now, but in doing that, the Police Act is not superior to the Constitution. The police must avert their mind to the provisions of the Constitution that says, even if you are arrested, even if you are investigated, please, the court says, the law says, the Constitution says, they should be charged within 48 hours. Now, even if you have rights, but the police will tell you, we are still carrying out our investigation, we are yet to be through with our investigations and all that, and because of that, they keep people, not just these minors, that's what they do. If you go to police cells everywhere, there are human beings, probably those that have not committed serious offenses and all that. They keep them in their cells, and by so doing, you are trampling upon the rights of those individuals. So the police, yes, actually they have done their bit by arresting. They have right to arrest, but where they have wronged the children was for not charging them within the stipulated time within which to do that. Yes, ordinarily police has right to stop somebody. They have right to arrest, question, and do all that. Especially when they suspect the person to have done one or two things.
So in a situation where one is a suspect and was detained and it has exceeded the 48 hours, the person has not been charged to court. So in that situation, does the police allow the person go just like that? Because it might be that challenge of how can we apprehend this person again when we need the person? I don't know.
I'm looking at the numbers of the 119. That is quite a huge.
Did you get my question?
Yes. The truth is this: if the police arrest anyone, and because the law says you must grant him bail within 48 hours, or you charge him to court, if you know you cannot charge him to, grant him bail. Granting someone bail does not mean he is free yet. You can call upon him at any time. And that is why police normally request for shortish. You get somebody to take him on bail, the person will shorty him. Please, if we don't get this person, we are releasing this person because of you. If we don't get him, we will hold you responsible to get him for us.
Okay.
But before you accept anybody as a shorty, the police normally do one or two things.
Yes.
Some go to the extent of visiting the shorty's place, his residence and all that. And they will say, the shorty must be somebody who has property and all that, and all those conditions will be put by the police. So the police normally, it is within the ambit of the law that they should grant that person bail. You don't continue to keep them in your custody, because that is a violation of his rights.
Okay, so now, since they were kept beyond that duration, these minors in court, they have the right to counter-sue the federal government or the police for compensations, don't they?
Well, now they have been released, but before then, what they would have done is to file a fundamental right proceedings in court. That your right has been trampled upon, and that the police should pay compensation. You understand? That's the remedy. So when you are detained for more than 48 hours, as stipulated by the Constitution, the next thing to do is to file fundamental right proceeding. But in practice, there is what the police normally do. When they see that you want to file fundamental right, they will charge you to court immediately. Or when the fundamental right proceedings are filed in court, The police, they too are active. If you come to serve them, they will not take that process. And before you know, they charge the matter to court. And immediately they charge the matter to court, your fundamental right proceeding will look like an academic exercise. But oftentimes, the period within which you were detained, you can still ask for, damages for that period.
Okay, we saw that that video clip where some of these minors fainted in court, and they fainted due to malnutrition while in detention. And what legal recourse do families have when there are concerns about the well-being of detained children or minors, like you said we should call them?
Yeah, like I said, they have right to file a fundamental right proceeding. But the way it is right now, now that they have been discharged by the Attorney General of the Federation, they might not avert their mind towards the issue of fundamental right, because it appears now that the issue is being settled amicably. That is, the Attorney General of the Federation has carried out his function and power within Section 174 of the Constitution. That power is equally given to Attorneys General of the states in Section 211 of the Constitution. They have rights and powers to continue and discontinue any matter in court, before judgment is delivered. So they have power. The Attorney General has power to say,
even as weighty as alleged treason and treasonable
no
felony.
matter the offense, no matter the offense, immediately the Attorney General of the Federation or the state, especially when the matter is either the matter is in federal high court or in a state high court, the Attorney General is given that power by the Constitution. To either continue or discontinue. You can take over the matter and terminate it at any stage. And that's the power of nolle prosequi. It's a constitutional power given to the Attorney General. The moment he does that, nobody questions that power. It's an unfettered power. You can't question that power.
Okay. From a legal perspective, what message does the government's response to this protest, what message does this send about Nigeria's commitment to human rights?
Well, you can see that the act of the police is very, very damaging when it comes to the Committee of Nations. The international community, wouldn't see us as a country that, in fact, they will see us as a country that undermines the fundamental rights of its citizens. What the police have done is not good enough, and it behoves on the General of Police to do something more. That's to show you that there are so many persons, both minors and other citizens of Nigeria, that are being held in various police cells. There are people passing through this kind of rigors, but they do not have somebody to help them. It was because these children were brought to court, and because of the way they acted, the police said they acted a script or not. Whether they acted a script or not, the question is, why have you kept them incommunicado for some time, for over 3 months, or about 3 months? You kept them without charging them to court. Assuming the Attorney General had not done this, had not taken over the matter, these children would have still be there suffering. So it doesn't show a good omen for Nigeria. And the international community is watching us. All these things go a long way to affecting us in one way or the other, and that is too bad for us.
Okay, so for someone watching now, there has been different debates on this matter of how to protest and how not to protest. For example, when you want to protest, you should approach the police for a permit to do that. Some say, as a citizen of Nigeria, you don't need to approach the police for permits. You can just hit the street and you have that right. So which is the accurate way? Are you supposed to get a permit from the police before you protest, or you can just organize a protest as long as it's peaceful, it's within your right as a citizen of Nigeria?
Well, the rule of law stipulates that as citizens of a country, you have a right to protest. And that is very, very germane. The Constitution give us that right. Apart from our Constitution too, we have international laws, like I said, international treaties and conventions that Nigeria is a signatory to, that gives citizens right to protest. Now, if I am to protest, or I have a group that wishes to protest over an issue or against an issue, either the state or federal government, or a state or federal government policy that is not too palatable to the citizen, and I apply to the police, and the police says no, we cannot grant you that permit, that means they have not allowed me and my group to exercise our right under the rule of law. So everybody has right to protest, but what we are saying that such protests should be peaceful. It should be a well-organized protest. So it is not.
So the police has anything.
It is not within the ambit of the law to take permission from the police before protesting.
I just wonder why the federal government is so interested in stopping protests once it gets the hint that Nigerians are coming out on the street to protest. They begin. You hear the police coming out to say, "We want to know the organizers of the protest. You must come and unveil yourself to us before you go out there to protest."
That is against the law. It is against the law. It is not within the ambit of the law to take permission from the police. If you take permission from the police, that means it is no more protest. One should protest whenever you want to protest. It is your right, but that protest must be done within the ambit of the law. You must be
with what we've seen in the country, is it also the police right to guarantee safety of the protesters? Because we've seen protests that are peaceful, but hoodlums come and hijack and attack peaceful protesters. So is it the right of the police to be on protest grounds and venues to protect the protesters, even without prior information? Or that's why they should be informed so they can be on ground?
Yes, I will still say that it is not mandatory for someone to inform the police that he wants to protest. Protest is a way of registering your anger against the government, the government policy. Nigerians don't wake up every day to say they want to protest. It's not an everyday thing. They protest against a particular issue. Oh, some persons are feeling more bad governance. Things are becoming too bad for us. We cannot cope any longer. Let us protest. That is the only way the government, would know that we are actually suffering. Because oftentimes it appears they don't bother about us. If we don't protest, these people won't take us serious. Now, the police cannot tell me, come and take permission from me. It's against the law. But, well, probably it's a rule that they should, so that they will be able to protect you. It is their constitutional power. It is within their constitutional power that, or rather, the Constitution gives them the power and duty to protect the citizenry. One of the safeguards and the guarantee by the Constitution is that the police even government should ensure that the citizenry are protected at all times. Then who is government? Government, Mr. President cannot wake up and carry a gun and say, I want to protect my citizen. He has agents. He has, persons who are established by the Constitution and enabling acts, just like the police and other security agencies. It is within their power, it is their duty and responsibility to protect the citizen.
Okay.
Whether you inform them or not, as far as you are protesting, the police has that as a responsibility to protect the citizenry at all times.
Okay. Now that we're talking about protest, let's just assume that these 119 protesters, that we did not have minors as part of these protesters. The government, the federal government, do they now have a right to actually, take them to court and prosecute them for coming out? Because you've said to come out to protest it's a right of the people.
Yes.
Now, because I believe that though the paper said the president has compassion on the citizens, I do not believe that. I believe it's because of the backlash that they received. That's the reason why our analyst said it, political pressure. That's the reason why they were released. Now, if they were not minors and if Nigerians did not come out to speak against this, this detention, do you see the federal government prosecuting 119 protesters for coming out to protest? Do you think that would have been the case if
they were not minors?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the police has right to arrest. They equally have right to prosecute in court. But I always say that it is not just enough to prosecute. The question is whether they can substantiate whatever charges they have preferred against the people that protested. If you are saying they have protested, are you charging them, for protesting, or which offense? Which offense are you charging them, for? No, that is why we always say that if you are to protest, protest peacefully. Let your protest be within the ambit of the law. It is not good for somebody to be protesting and as well be looting. You know, it happens all the time. Oftentimes when Nigerians say they want to protest, oh, we are hungry, that you have right to protest does not mean that you have right to loot and steal or even vandalize properties, government properties and all that. So what happened in 2022 during the SARS protest? The protest turned to something else. Rather than protest against government and the police and SARS issue, they started looting. And on that ground, the police can now bring, preferred charges against those people. Any person that was arrested or caught, damaging people's property and stealing and looting. You see, that's where the problem always comes. If anybody is protesting, let the person protest. Let the person protest per se. Let protest be protest, not protest that will result in looting and stealing. And if somebody is caught stealing or looting, the person, can be prosecuted for such offenses.
Right. In light of these events, do you believe there is a need for a reform of Nigeria's juvenile justice system when you compare what we have here in Nigeria to the international standard? Do you believe there's a need to reform our juvenile justice system?
Well, our juvenile justice system is there, the laws are there, but in practice we have some lacunas here and there. Oftentimes, many of these security agencies or agents do not know what the law say about them. So their own is to arrest, and immediately they arrest, they dump people, and the next thing they do, if they see that there's pressure, they'll charge them to court. You see, oftentimes the police, they don't know what to do. They charge people to any court they like. But even at that, the law reform continues. It is a continuum. It is something that will continue to happen from time to time. Our administration of criminal justice, was overhauled not quite long, and by the time you apply it, you see that there are still lacunas here and there. So there is need for us to reform our criminal justice, our juvenile justice system. That in that, when you charge minors and juveniles, you don't need to bring them, to the public. Okay. You can see in some pictures, their faces were covered. They are juvenile. You don't charge them to public courts, or rather in the open court. If at best they can be tried in chambers, they have a special court for these juveniles. You have a special court for them. Then you don't bring them to the general public. And these are some of the things that should be done. The more reforms can be done, and the creation of a special court, though it is in place.
We have a special court.
We have a special court. It appears it is not too viable, and many people are not aware of this. So there is need to propagate this judicial system where juveniles should be tried and catered for. Juveniles oftentimes, because of their low mentality, because they are still very young people, and oftentimes they push them. Some of those minors that were charged might not even know that what they had was the flag of Russia and all that. Somebody must have procured them to do those things. Now, I think it would have been better for you to go to the root of the matter rather than arrest the innocent children who are suffering over there, that some of them do not even have food to eat.
So now that you've stated that, I'm going to ask you this. The way the matter was handled and dismissed by the Attorney General of the Federation, do you think that it was the best way to handle the matter? Do you think the charges should have just been swept under the carpet? Or the minors should have been released, then the federal government probes further to know the sponsors of these acts that they call treason and treasonable felony?
Yeah, but I don't think they are even after releasing them, the federal government can still, engage in investigation. They have DSS, we have NIA, we have other security agencies. They should go to the root of this matter. You see, many of these things are political. They know they are political in nature, and some of them might not even like to mention others' name. It could be a regional issue, probably northern, southern, Palava, and all those stuff. Some might not go into the root of the matter, but they know all these things that they have political undertone.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't stop even as they have been discharged and acquitted. The federal government can as well launch a manhunt on those that were responsible, those people who actually did this. How did it come about? Some people are angry somewhere. Well, they can still go to the root of the causes of that imbroglio.
All right. How does the law address compensation or rehabilitation for minors who may have been wrongfully detained? Because we've already established it here that these minors, they had the right to go out there to protest. Now that they've been detained and now they've been released, how does the law, address compensation or rehabilitation? We've heard the federal government say they're going to do this or do that for the minors, but what can the family of these minors do to make sure that they get their compensation or these minors are rehabilitated? Do they go to courts? What measure should they take to ensure that they get compensation and these minors are rehabilitated?
Well, right now, these minors have been released. They have reunited with their various families. I think it now behoves on the families to take care of their children. Now, assuming they were in prison, for example, if a person or a defendant is sentenced to imprisonment or whatever. Now, in the prison, ordinarily, we are supposed, the purpose of imprisoning a prisoner is not just to make him suffer. There are other reasons why some persons or some criminals are taken to prison. Ordinarily, we are supposed to have a reformatory, sector of, or rather section of the prison. Sending somebody to prison is not just about punishing him for what he has done. It is again a part of reforming such a person. Unfortunately, we are in a climate where probably such facilities or personnel might not be around to take care of them. In other countries, you have psychologists and criminologists that are there to reform them, so that when they come out from the prison, they become better persons to the society. In Nigeria, I doubt whether we have such experts to deal with them. So now that they have been released, it is assumed they have been discharged because they were charged to court. The Attorney General came and brought in his power of nolle prosequi, and they were discharged. They have returned home. Now, the government does not have hands in their matters.
But they were detained for 90 days, 97 days. They were not charged to court. So don't you think the federal government should, in one way or the other, compensate these minors?
There is no how these children will go home, as I've seen it, that without getting something. They will surely give them something. I'm aware. I think I know they will give them something to kind of take care of them when they get home. Some might, they need to be taken care of. Some good parents will take them to maybe
the hospitals,
rehab centers, and take care of them. Some of them cannot reason very well any longer. It generally affects them.
Being detained for about 90 days, that is terrible.
To be in that environment is just too bad, and a lot of things.
Okay, what roles do civic organization play in cases like this?
Yes, you see, even civil organizations must have played so many roles, which you and
we had some like international, the Amnesty International
and others.
Yes.
They must have played a role. They must have played a role which you and I wouldn't know. But despite that. Well, the main thing is getting information. You know, oftentimes when some persons are arrested, you get them informed. If you have their contacts, get them informed. Some will swing into action. You know, they have a role to play. They have been playing such roles, and they are just commendable.
Okay, finally, what message would you like to send to Nigerian youth and their families regarding their rights in politically charged situations like this one that just played out?
Yes, I would like to say that the youth should be up and doing. They must bear in mind that there are political actors that normally want to use them. These people that call upon the younger ones to carry out protests, to do one thing or the other, to fight, they have their children. Many of them have their children abroad. They don't call their children, but they use our youth to achieve some of their points, some of their devilish goals. So it is incumbent on the youth to be very, very careful. Oftentimes when you go out to do all these things like protests, some of them are killed, and the people that sent them will not come out to say we sent them. No, so the youth should be wary of such politicians. No, they must be wary too of the fact that even if they have a right to protest, their right to protest is not absolute. There is no right or fundamental right that is absolute. All these rights are restricted in one way or the other. That you have freedom of association does not mean that you should go and join an association to fight against government and or vandalize government property and all that. So such rights all rights are restricted in one way or the other. That you have right to do one thing does not mean that you have right to do everything. Okay. So that's it.
As a lawyer, I would also want you to speak to the law enforcement agencies as well.
Yes, the law enforcement agencies, especially the police, know their rights, and they should know their restraint too. Okay. That you have right to arrest, investigate does not mean that you stop every Tom, Dick, and Harry you see on the road and arrest them. You see what happened recently? What happened now is that there are some of these boys in town that we call Yahoo boys. So you see what the police do now is there is an incident that happened recently. One little boy will just call a team, especially all these teams that are moving, uses Sienna, move around the town. These boys have the police contact. Assuming if any little thing that happens, what they do is to call the police. And the police will come, they will not ask any question. Whether it is a civil matter or not, the police will arrest and dump somebody somewhere and they will move. And when you come, they will ask you to bring 100,000 naira for bail. And you see, the police should know their onions. They should know too that even if they have powers as enshrined in Section 4 of the Act establishing the police, they should also know that these people, the individual, the citizens have their rights as enshrined in the Constitution. They have freedom of movement. They have freedom of association. So you should know that the Constitution is superior to your Police Act. Okay. They should know that people have rights, and as such, they should stop trampling upon the rights of the people. When you don't suspect anybody to have committed a crime, you don't stop him, you don't search him, you don't arrest. They arrest frivolously, and that is too bad. It doesn't show a good example of the police, and it goes a long way to damaging our country. The international community sees us as a country that violates the rights of the citizenry, and that is too bad. That is why so many people don't come to Nigeria to invest. You cannot come here and invest, and when you come here, the police will molest you. The only thing they will listen to is money. They are after money. They are not after their job, and that is too bad. Okay. So it is incumbent on the IG and those involved, the authorities, to fish out the bad eggs. Many of the policemen we have in Delta State and in Nigeria in general are not human beings. They ought not to be in the police force. They are not. They are not mature enough. What they're after is money, money.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sam Ugbo. Thank you for coming and enlightening us on this very sensitive and complex issue. We've been speaking to Dr. Sam Ugbo, a distinguished legal consultant and teacher. Before we go, Gaga, your last words.
All right, thank you very much for being part of Wednesday's edition of the Morning Ride. I'd like to sign off with this. Despite the economic indices in the country right now, if you must express your displeasure or grievances, please do it in a peaceful manner. It is I, Gaga Kama, thanking you so much for your time.
And just like Dr. Sam Ugbo said, no human right is absolute. So make sure that while you are going out there to protest, you're also doing it the right way, just like Ogaga said. And to our law enforcement agents, your role is to protect the lives of the citizens, protect the lives and properties, and not to trample on the rights of citizens. So please do your job and carry out your activities in a very professional way. Thank you so much for joining us on Wednesday's edition of Morning Ride. I am Blessing Usiabada. On behalf of the production crew, we say thank you for joining us. Have yourself a wonderful day. And join us tomorrow bright and early, 7 a.m. for Thursday's edition of Morning Ride. Goodbye for now.